have a guest in the building. Filmmaker Abdul Malik Abbott, who's also an artist, y'all. We're going to get into that too. He joins us, and we're going to talk a bit about his journey into filmmaking. He's worked with some amazing and incredible people, including, directing Streets is Watching, which we know Jay-Z was in, State Property with Beanie Siegel, which is like a cult classic at this point, and, some other things dating back to your New York roots, your musical background, and how all of this helps shape your visual storytelling. I mean, you even work with Spike Lee. Mm-hmm. And you have been a part of directing or involved with some 300 plus music videos, right? From the era when music videos meant something, where we had budget, where it was a mini film, actually, it was creative. It was all the things. So welcome, Abdul Malik Abbott, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So does one grow up saying, I want to direct videos? Did you start off wanting to be a filmmaker and fell into the video process along the way? Or how did that all come together for you?
For me, I was a fan of movies. And by the way, I'm a fan of yours, too.
I appreciate that.
I'm a fan of Jill Monroe. And she knows that. But yeah, my father was a filmmaker as well. He taught at the Studio Museum of Harlem. So I thought it was cool, like, oh, he's a filmmaker, blah, blah, blah. Can I do that? So after a while, I was like, once I saw Star Wars and movies that Steven Spielberg directed, I was like, oh, the director is kind of like a star too. So I want to get into that. So I took the long journey. I went to film school. I went to art school. I went to film school. So I went to music and art high school in New York.
So you're just a total creative.
Yeah. So okay. I took that route. I took that journey early on. So my mother and father were very much on my side. So, growing up in Harlem, how many filmmakers are out there and how many artists are out there that's not a rap artist? So to even answer your question about that journey is sort of like, I just had to make a decision, like, this is what I want to do. I did a little vocal training with the Boys Choir of Harlem until my voice changed, and then I was like, all right, I'm not singing anymore. I'm just going to draw. So I was just drawing, doing into comic books, anything that you could think of being a nerd, that was me.
Just being creative.
Yes.
So when did you start because you're in school, obviously, to be a filmmaker in the highest sense, and you come from that lineage. So when did you sort of venture off into music? Was it because you had those musical roots, or how did that all come into play?
Well, I always loved music, and then I was going to music and art had art, and then it had music, obviously, in the title. So it was all my peers, they were into music, especially rap. So, I was in class with Slick Rick. I was in class with Dana Dane. The Beastie Boys were hanging around. So I was in that
golden,
yes.
Like the early stages.
So, yeah, I was in that atmosphere. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not a rapper, so let me just get into music. So I was a big fan of Chic, so I picked up the bass and started to mimic Bernard Edwards, the bass player. So that was the beginning of it all.
Love.
Yes. So I think that's Bernard White.
Oh, Bernard White. Okay. Bernard Edwards and Chic. Okay.
He was the bassist. Yes.
Okay.
So I know a lot about music. I actually did a song for Shades, this group called Shades, called Tell Me Your Name. Yes.
Ray Allen's wife was in that group.
Oh, that's right. Yes. And that was a great video we did in Miami.
It was beautiful.
But, I'm jumping around. But yeah, so I just decided to be an artist earlier on. So that I was just not afraid to do everything. Most of my friends who were musicians were drummers, guitarists, playing rock, and then, black people too. So there was the Black Rock Coalition in New York, which spawned like Living Color. Mm-hmm. and all those cats. I was in that era.
Have you seen? This is kind of off topic, but I'm gonna swing it back. There is a video going around, I guess from TikTok or social media, of about 3 or 4 black guys rocking out bass, guitar, drums, and they're playing like it kind of is like a 90s rock feel. And I love that for us and for them because I think in the 90s, kind of 2000s, we started getting more into it, but we pulled away. We obviously are, coming up in country now. I would like to see us back in the rock pop space.
Right. I mean, they're still there. Bad Brains, 247 Spies. Everybody's still. I think they're all still together. They're just older, and there's just not. The music business is all over the place. So who knows where they really are? But Living Color still tours.
Okay. So, what was the first music video that you directed, and was it hip hop?
The first music video I directed. Now, keep in mind, I worked on so many of them as an editor and as a sound person. But my first break was a group called Too Many, and they were out of Philly, and it was produced by Will Smith. So my first video, I had the Fresh Prince in it. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be it. This is gonna blow me up. So it actually played on TV, which is, to me, it was always amazing to have your work on TV and you can just see it. So that was the very first video. It was called Too Many. I can't remember the name of it. It's been so long, but Where's the Party? That's what it was. And it was a fun backpack type video, back when people had the flat tops and the backpacks and all that. So it was a kind of a fun pop video. So that was my first joint.
So, okay, I have two questions. How did you get connected with Spike? And then I want to know how you got into the Rockefeller state property, all of that. Because like I said, those are cult classics, and we don't talk about the director of them as often as we should. We talk about what happened in it. Those moments are talked about on social media, referenced all of the time, even spoofed in some of the newer stuff. But we didn't know about you. So I want to know those two things.
Okay, well, the Spike Lee thing came from working on a movie called Death by Temptation. And that was like a black horror movie.
Kadeem Hardison was in it.
Oh, wow, you good. Bill Nunn was in it.
I love movies, too.
Yes. So I was in the sound department with my partner, Charles Hunt. He was the sound mixer. I was the boom operator. And then right after that, they went to go to Do the Right Thing. All that crew, Ernest Dickerson had shot it. And then Ernest was back on Do the Right Thing. And then I joined Do the Right Thing working on that crew. And that's how I met Spike. I knew who he was. I was like, oh, he was my hero. You know what I mean? Because he was doing it. He was in New York doing it. It wasn't not that many black people working.
Right. She's Got to Have It, School Days, and then boom, Do the Right Thing after.
Yeah, and then after that, I worked on Mo Better Blues in the sound department. And got to work with Denzel and Giancarlo Esposito. And, the whole cast was fun. And I was in charge of the music. So I was the one playing all the music.
That soundtrack was incredible. The score, all of that.
Yeah, so I was the one who's playing the music on set from a recording, and they're mimicking it, to playback. So that was the intro of, my Spike Lee days, 40 Acres days. We call it the 40 Acres University.
Okay.
And then the Damon Dash Rockefeller thing was a fluke. And basically I was working on a lot of videos, and I had met the video commissioner, and she was like, oh, I have this group I want you to do a video for. It's called Original Flavor, and their manager is Damon Dash. So if you can get along with Damon Dash, then you got the job. And I was like, I get on with everybody. I'm from Harlem. He's from Harlem. We can make this work. Mm-hmm. So I met him. He was cool, and we just did the video. And that's where I met Jay-Z on the set. And he was just like this quiet dude, just chilling in the background. He wasn't trying to be in front of the camera and be in the video, even though he was barely in the video. The song was called All That. And that was like a pretty big hit for them for Original Flavor. So that was the beginning of the Rockefeller. And they didn't even have Rockefeller at the time. They were just trying to figure it out.
Okay. So whose idea was it, and how did they come to you to get into the movie side?
Okay, so we did a bunch of videos for Jay-Z. After we did the All That video, then we did I Can't Get With That. That was Jay-Z's very first video. Mm-hmm. And then we did In My Lifetime remix. And then other people started to get into the mix. Other directors. I'm like, okay. So basically what happened to how we spawned Streets Is Watching was Jay had did this video with Babyface, Sunshine, and people were hating on it.
They were.
So that's when Damon and Shaka Pilgrim and Biggs and Jay, they all came up with this idea like, okay, we're gonna bring Jay back to the streets, so we need to do this project that's not pop, very street, but still sophisticated enough to represent Jay as, you know, how he is as an artist. So that was pretty much how it came about. It was just like a video album, basically.
All right. Well, when we come forward, we're going to have more with Abdul Malik Abbott, and of course, more trending topics and headlines. We're going to get into this Cam Newton story and a little bit of Diddy.
All y'all niggas trying to do is hurt myself and stop trips to John McNair.
Welcome back in. You are locked in with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Shout out to Jay-Z. Streets is watching. You know when hip-hop was hip-hop. We have filmmaker Abdul Malik Abbott in the studio. He is the visual storyteller responsible for the film, the iconic film Streets is Watching. You know, several videos. He's a filmmaker, an artist, just an all-around creative, which I love. When you hear that song, right, and you take yourself back to that time period, what was it like for you as a young filmmaker? Obviously, you didn't know that you were creating a cult classic, but what did you think about what you were laying out at that time as far as your vision?
Well, basically, I was fighting to make sure that the artist, meaning Jay, got what he wanted. So I understood that it was in a moment that he was somewhat repairing, you know, his image, his persona. So I didn't feel pressure. I was just like, okay, we got to do this the right way. We got to make sure this is tight.
Because they thought he was Shiny Suit Man because he was in the video with Babyface and Foxy and Sunshine, the sample. And the pop colors and all of that.
The roller coasters. So that wasn't him. So I just felt that I was responsible to make sure that he's getting what he needs. So that was the goal. And I think we did that.
Amazing. Andy?
I just got to say this. I know Jay-Z hated that whole situation. But as a kid, I loved it.
I did too. I thought it was so
I
fly.
rocked with Sunshine.
I
you know
did
what I'm saying?
too.
It was a bop. I liked the color. It was like, you know, it was just, it brought everything to life. But I get it. You know,
I get it.
you
New
from the
York
streets,
grimy
you know
hip
what I'm
hop
saying? I get
streets. That's not your people. That's
I
not
loved
your
it all.
people.
Right. But the thing is, like, Jay has never been grimy. He's just been like street. But it was almost like sophisticated street. You know what I mean? So that was how I approached it.
So from there, right, currently you have a band, right? You're still making film and art. What brings you the most creative joy currently?
I mean, I have a band called B.O.S.S. That's B.O.S.S.
We heard a little bit of that before we went into break. Shout out to that. Yeah.
Yes, it was a song called Vice featuring So2, Son of the Underground. And, you know, I partnered up with a singer. Her name is Natalie. And she's also from New York. But I met out here and just decided, you know what? I play all this music. You know, I was like a frustrated musician who was recording but didn't really have anywhere to put it out. So I just decided to link up with someone who actually was interested in the music that I like, because the music that I like is not particularly the music that's popular, but it's popular at the same time.
Right.
Meaning, like, you have to sort of like, oh, chill.
Kind of like alternative.
It's like, I mean, they used to call it neo soul until it got played out with the title, but the music is still there because you got Lucky Day, you have all these different artists that still have that soulful vibe. So, you know, I base my vibe on Sade meets Seal meets Marvin Gaye meets, you know, Isaac Hayes production, stuff like that.
So you want lots of musicality, visuals in the music,
yes,
as well as kind of making you think sometimes.
Just make you just have a vibe and be chill.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and then I also produce for other artists, Kimberly Lee, Kia Muse, Lugo. It's like a TK, the artist. It's like I try to do it all. But you know, my that's my love, and filmmaking is my love. So I have two loves. I'm not cheating on either one of them.
You're not cheating on either one of them. You're polyamorous when it comes to the creative thing.
Yes.
Okay, so listen, I mentioned briefly about, you know, Dame Dash is going through his situations where the rights to, you know, his ownership to Rockefeller, the label, as well as these film properties. As a filmmaker, right, when you do something like that, do you release it and whatever happens with it is what happens? Or when you see like that your film is up for auction and these things, does it touch you in any type of way? What are your thoughts around that?
Well, I think the projects that I did, like Streets is Watching, I'm not sure who owns that. That was a Rockefeller Def Jam project.
It's out there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is part of
I did not
what
know
is
that.
The piece that Dame owns of that is part of what is being auctioned off in order to pay back his financial debts.
Gotcha. Well, good luck with that. Moving forward, because I don't have a piece of that. I have a piece of state property, but state property was through Lionsgate, so I don't know if they can touch that.
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, because it has been mentioned and put out there that his ownership in these films are, up for stake. So one, you do have some ownership stake with, the other doesn't. So if you were to find that, whatever is happening and some new random entity is now part owner of it, does that impact you? Do you think about it, or it's just part of the business?
No, it's just part of the business, because the film is still the film. Whoever gets a piece of the pie later on is getting a piece of the pie. My little slice stays the same.
Nothing happens with it. Okay.
But if there's more, new interest, then my servings come a little bigger. You know what I mean? So, Stars plays state property all the time.
They really do.
It was number 9 last week. I'm like, okay.
Because what did I tell you? It's a cult classic.
Right.
It's a cult classic. Welcome back, and you are locked in with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm joined by my guest, filmmaker, director, artist, just all around creative, Abdul Malik Abbott.
Yes.
So currently, you were telling me that you're working on a documentary of this woman. She's 99 years old. Tell me all the details about her, because I think it's quite fascinating.
Yes. Well, she's almost 99. But it's Betty Saar. It was directed by Angela Robinson Witherspoon, who's the widow of the late John Witherspoon. I've been working on this documentary for several years now, and we're pretty much done. I shot it, edited it, co-produced with Angela, and we're on Betty Saar. And Betty Saar is, if you look her up, her name is spelled weird. It's BettySaar, but she is amazing artist, assemblage artist, world-known artist, and she's like this big, 4 foot something, seems like 5 foot something.
Hey, shout out to the 5 footers.
Yes, she's got
5 footers.
Yes,
I'm 5 feet. What?
Yes.
In the building.
So she's got work everywhere, MoMA, LACMA, any major museum. So it was actually a pleasure going full circle to work on shooting an artist, like a artist, not a performing artist or an actor or anything.
Visual painter,
yes.
Mixed media. What type of art does she use? Paint, oils?
She does
like
everything. Assemblage art, which is found pieces put together. She does painting. She does watercolor. She does everything.
Okay.
And her daughter did the statue of Harriet Tubman that's in Harlem.
Okay.
Which is featured in so many different projects. So I had a really good time working with Angela and putting that together.
Okay, and shout out to the late John Witherspoon.
Yes, indeed.
Comedian extraordinaire.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, coordinate.
Yes.
All right, so let me ask you. You work with the African American Film Critics Association.
Yes.
Shout out to us.
Yes.
Shout out to Gil Robertson, our fearless leader.
Gil, the Godfather.
You have your band. You're still involved in filmmaking. What do you want your legacy project to be?
I haven't shot it yet, so I don't know yet. I got to get it shot first. But I'm also a writer as well, so I'm still in that mix of just like hustling, development, and anything, all the struggles that you would have as a beginning filmmaker. You still always keep going in circles in the film world, unless you're just lucky to cake off and keep it moving. And I think the perfect example is like one time I had a meeting with John Singleton, and we were just talking. We had did something at the Directors Guild, the African American Steering Committee. We honored him a few years ago, and I went to visit him after, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to get work too." And I'm like, "But you're John Singleton."
Yeah.
But I think he was just talking about Snowfall and or maybe it was the one right before that. But he was having, he had some struggles too, and but what made the meeting cool was like, oh yeah, I play state property in the office all the time. Yo,
See?
you made that, and because he didn't know who I was.
Cult classic. I'm telling you, you have probably inspired so many young filmmakers they don't even know.
Right.
So kind of along those lines, right? What is something that you learned from that period of time as far as filmmaking, being a director, the environment that you still utilize today?
I think it's mostly just stay close and stay true to your own vision, because if you sort of just go with the flow, you just end with the flow, and then the flow's over, and then you're kind of stuck. So if you have your own vision, at least you can stick out, unless you're just doing what everyone else was doing. So I tried to do the opposite. I tried to tell stories in the music videos. So when I did videos like Dead Presidents for Jay-Z,
Shout out to that. Like, really quick, I'm sorry to do this to you. I need a really quick rundown of the videos that you did from Rockefeller, like those Jay videos, like that Beanie video, all of that, really quick.
I can't remember all of them, but it was definitely Dead Presidents, which was, I always say the number one. So Dead Presidents was number one. The Ain't No N-word was number one.
Come on with Foxy.
Yes.
Where were you guys overseas?
We were actually in Miami.
Oh, that was in Miami. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
And then we did 2 versions of In My Lifetime. One was the remix, the Big Jazz remix, and one was the regular. We shot in St. Thomas for that one.
Okay.
And like these were all like self-funded videos for them for a while, except for once they did the Ain't No video that was with Def Jam as well, and it was for the Nutty Professor soundtrack.
Right.
So we had a little heat under it. We actually were number one while we were shooting the video. So that was kind of wild. But my favorite was the Dead Presidents with Biggie in it. That was
presidents to represent me. What
Yeah,
about presidents?
Yeah, so that was like one of my favorite joints that I did, and it was a hard shoot too because it was freezing. I'm from New York, and it's always freezing when you're trying to shoot. But we had a good time, and we had a goal, and that was what I would want to circle back. It's like we were going to tell a story, and that was the point, to just stick with that. And then we did Face Off with Sauce Money, and that had the booty shaking stuff. But I kind of tried to stay away from that because everybody else was doing it. So you
wanted to give them somatic,
right?
I love that. Well, first of all, they're already asking in the socials. I was going to get to it. They're already asking in the chat for your socials. So we need your website. We need where we can find you on social media.
Okay. My website is Abdul Malik Abbott. Now that's ABDUL MALIKABBOTT.com. AbdulMalikAbbott.com. And if you like the music, the band is called B.O.S.S, and it's bossmusicny.com. Instagram is DJ Abby Ab, ABBYAB, and I'm not a DJ, but that's just the name that stuck. I had a quick story. When I was doing my thesis film in school, I had a character called MC Abby Ab, but after a while, people started calling me DJ Abby Ab, so it just stuck. So I tried to separate myself from the filmmaker, from the artist, so I use DJ Abby Ab when I do the music.
Okay.
And that's at DJ Abby Ab or at Blue Music Productions.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit about your journey. I can talk to you about all of this. Listen, we will get into more trending topics and headlines tomorrow, as we always do. Thank you for locking in each and every Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I appreciate you so much. Coming up next is Zoe Williams, the voice of reason. I'll check in with you guys tomorrow.